Back in 2030, the whole world got flipped upside down when spiritual energy just exploded everywhere, and people could actually start working toward immortality. But the grind was still real. Bosses were still out here yelling at workers to hustle harder just to scrape together rent money. One guy finally had enough of getting treated like garbage and just went off on everyone, basically saying he wasn't going to be anyone's slave anymore. His coworkers just stood there completely stunned, like they had no clue how to even react to what just happened. Right then, something crazy happened. The dude awakened some ghost cultivation powers, and his spirit literally bounced, leaving his body passed out on the floor. When superpowers started popping up everywhere, the world went completely nuts and wars over resources started breaking out left and right. Before all this madness went down, he was just your average student grinding through school trying not to fail his classes. His daily routine was nothing special, just regular school stuff. The stress hit different though because his parents were busting their backs working so he could have better opportunities than they ever got. In class, everyone was locked in writing like their lives depended on it, basically turning into homework robots. The teacher grabbed a megaphone and started yelling about new textbooks, desperately trying to get everyone to pay attention. Kids in the next classroom over were freaking out because something wild was going down in their room too. Some dude in his class suddenly awakened his abilities, and everyone lost their minds. Fast forward 10 years, and our main guy became the ultimate powerhouse who ended the whole war and finally brought peace. But apparently some punk kids didn't get the message and still thought they could mess with our hero. Our MC's aura turns red as he warns them he's counting to 3, and they better get on their knees and show some respect. Everyone watching can't believe this guy's energy right now. Out of nowhere, a massive finger made of pure power starts coming down from the sky toward the wrecked city. The enormous hand keeps dropping down, about to crush everything in its path. The pressure is so intense that everyone gets slammed to their knees, completely powerless to fight back. The massive hand just freezes midair, casually holding a chunk of the city like it's nothing. The crowd has no choice but to start shouting about how Yi Chen is this incredibly good-looking and crazy powerful guy. The scene cuts to the present day, showing off this sleek, futuristic office building that's loaded with tech. A magic pen glowing purple is just floating there, writing stuff on paper all by itself. A woman wearing glasses uses her abilities to make multiple pens work at the same time, getting through tons of paperwork. She's clearly stressed out dealing with all these documents about rebuilding cities and tracking down criminals. Some office worker is running around like crazy while papers and files are literally floating through the air everywhere. In the conference room, a bunch of executives in fancy suits are just sitting there waiting quietly. An assistant walks up to tell the main character that even though the world is peaceful now, everything needs to be fixed. She explains to Yi Chen that he's the one who has to step up and handle all this mess. Yi Chen picks at his ear and clearly isn't feeling what he just heard at all. Looking completely over it, Yi Chen asks if she's seriously joking right now. He grumbles about fighting for more than a decade and says he's not trying to be anyone's guard dog for life. Yi Chen makes this annoyed expression and says he just wants to go solo and do whatever he wants. The assistant isn't having any of his attitude and straight up smacks him in the head with her folder. Yi Chen whines that he's literally unbeatable and she needs to show some respect to his reputation. She doesn't give a single care and starts chasing him around the room trying to hit him more while he bolts. The woman points right at him and tells him to actually look at himself and see how he's acting. She goes off about his outfit, saying he's really going to show up to a major meeting wearing shorts and sandals. His assistant brings up their friends who didn't make it and reminds him that the whole world's future depends on them now. When he hears this, Yi Chen's whole vibe shifts and he walks up behind her looking completely different. He drops his hand on her shoulder and she jumps, wondering what the heck he's trying to pull. Our MC tells her they can handle all the boring paperwork stuff and just hit him up if anyone starts acting up. He says he'll personally wreck anyone who thinks they can step out of line. The woman gets all worked up and smacks him with that folder again as he bolts out of there. His assistant is absolutely done with him. His whole attitude just rubbed her the wrong way. Our hero goes quiet for a second while she's sitting there waiting for him to give her a real answer. She stares him down hard and asks if he's really sure he won't step up and do this. Yi Chen tells her straight up that nobody can make him do anything he doesn't want to do anymore. After hearing that, the woman just lets out this heavy sigh because that definitely wasn't what she wanted to hear. She hits him with the fact that he's going to be sitting around doing nothing while everyone else is locked in with work. Yi Chen actually stops for a second because what she just said low-key made perfect sense. Now he's interested and asks what the gig is, and she promises him it's going to be chill and stress-free. She puts her hand on his shoulder and reminds him that he's not getting any younger. With this sneaky grin, she drops the bomb that it's time for him to go on blind dates and find a wife. Yi Chen's face lights up because yeah, that does sound like the easiest job ever. But then it hits him what he just agreed to and his whole expression just dies. The next thing everyone hears is Yi Chen screaming from the top of that building loud enough for the whole city to hear. The scene switches to this quiet, old-school restaurant sitting right in the middle of town. Inside, this gorgeous woman is using her powers to make a bunch of blades just float around above her. Her eyes start glowing as she gets ready to pull off one of her sickest moves. The woman controls her floating swords to slice up the meat with perfect precision. The waitress then uses her own magic to send the plates flying straight to this family's table. Yi Chen watches the whole thing go down with this chill smile on his face. He's thinking about how the war's finally done and all these combat spells are being used for normal stuff now. While he's waiting for his date at the restaurant, Yi Chen remembers the people who show up late are usually just messing with you. He starts drumming his fingers on the table because his patience is basically gone at this point. We see a flashback of him going back and forth with his assistant, telling her he's not trying to get married because he wants to stay happy and do his own thing. He gives the woman this nasty look that makes it super obvious he's not feeling this whole marriage idea. His assistant just stands there with her hands on her hips, making it clear she's not about to give up on this. Our protagonist tells her to quit treating him like some kid whose parents dumped him on her for babysitting duty. She drops the bomb that his parents died protecting both of them when that school building came crashing down. See, she explains they put their trust in him, so now she feels like she has to handle all his personal stuff. Yi Chen gets fed up with all the talking and straight up yells that he needs to know why she's doing all this. Out of nowhere, a massive stack of papers gets slammed down right in front of our hero. His assistant breaks it down, since he's basically unstoppable now. All these different groups want to marry into his family. Our protagonist fires back that she can't trick him because he actually paid attention in history class. He starts picturing those fancy marriage setups from shows, with gorgeous women in expensive outfits. But he knows the real deal is probably way different, which is exactly why he's not trying to go on any dates. His sister walks over and tells him he's basically a walking nuke and asks if he even gets what that means. Yi Chen gets confused and wonders if this is all happening because he's just too good-looking and smooth. His sister just shakes her head like he's being an idiot. She grabs his cheeks and tells him straight up that no girl would even glance at him if he wasn't crazy powerful. Then she grins and drops the bomb that these factions are so scared of him, they'll only send their absolute hottest girls. Our guy's eyes go wide as it finally clicks what she's been trying to tell him this whole time. He gets it now. He was totally thinking about this backwards and she actually knew what she was talking about. Yi Chen's face turns red and he gets all hyped up, begging her to at least show him a photo of his date beforehand. He asks if she's really too busy to do that much, but she just gives him another no. She tells him it's his call, but keeping things mysterious is probably the better move anyway. Sitting in the restaurant now, Yi Chen realizes his sister totally got him good and there's no backing out. A soft voice calls out to him, and he looks up to see someone standing barefoot right in front of his table. Yi Chen's face turns completely red and his heart starts pounding when he hears how sweet and gentle she sounds. Getting all flustered, he tells her that he's actually here for a blind date too. What are the odds? But when he finally looks at her face, she's wearing this absolutely terrifying mask that looks like it came from a horror movie. Yi Chen's jaw drops and his whole expression just shifts immediately when he sees that nightmare fuel on her face. Even with that creepy mask though, her body is absolutely perfect. But Yi Chen is too focused on the mask to even notice her figure right now. The other people eating start freaking out and whispering her name like they've seen a ghost. Suddenly, the name Lan Duo gets shouted across the whole city, and everyone in the restaurant starts panicking hard. That's when literally everyone in the place starts sprinting toward the exits like their lives depend on it. Some dude riding a dragon yells out that she's one of the 10 most dangerous people alive and her poison will straight up kill you. In all the madness, a dad books it with his little girl on his back, having no clue why everyone's losing their minds. Back at the restaurant, our guy just stares at this mysterious Lan Duo girl standing right there in front of him. Yi Chen points right at her and asks what the hell she's doing here since the whole war thing ended ages ago. His mind flashes back to when they first met, and she nearly ended his life with that deadly poison of hers. He had to spend a whole month getting jabbed with needles and getting his blood swapped out just to stay alive. Once he got better, the guy went looking for payback, but turns out she leveled up too. Our protagonist remembers getting absolutely wrecked and embarrassed by this masked chick. He almost died from being completely drained after months of being sick and needing another blood swap. Right now, Lin Duda looks pretty anxious and keeps trying to figure out how to explain what's going on. She drops the bombshell that her great shaman basically forced her to come on this blind date. Yi Chen isn't buying any of this nonsense she's trying to sell him. He gets heated and says there's no way that's true since they were literally trying to kill each other before. But she hits back saying she never had any personal beef with him, which completely throws him off. He reaches out and touches her creepy mask, reminding her how they went at it for real on the battlefield. Lan Duduo explains she was just doing what she was told because it was either finish the job or die trying. This actually makes Yi Chen stop and think, and he starts getting where she's coming from. Now he's just standing there scratching his head, totally lost about what's happening. She suggests they just roll with the blind date, but that idea has him shook. He immediately nopes out of there, telling her that her mask alone is giving him major creeps. The guy awkwardly grins and says he's gonna head out, thinking it's probably best if they just go separate ways. But Landua stops him and asks him to hold up for a sec. Chen spins around and wants to know what's up. She tells him her master saw this coming and said to remove the mask if he tried to bail. Now the guy's actually interested since nobody's ever seen what Lan Duodua really looks like under there. He reaches up and starts pulling off that creepy mask from her face. The tension gets real as the mask comes off bit by bit, showing what she's been hiding this whole time. Our protagonist swallows hard, totally locked in to see what's underneath. Sonali turns around and Yi Chen gets his first look at her actual face. Right then, the guy goes from being kinda surprised to his mind getting completely blown. The dude's mind is completely blown. He can't process how gorgeous his old enemy actually is. He does a complete 180 and starts nodding like crazy, suddenly totally down for this blind date. She's genuinely shocked that he switched up so fast. Without missing a beat, she asks if they can just get married right now. The guy doesn't even hesitate and starts bobbing his head up and down like he's lost his mind. But then he catches himself acting like a total simp and realizes he's being way too eager. He starts shaking his head instead, trying to get his brain working again. Yi Chen tells her that marriage needs real love between two people to actually work. Dodo hits him back with the most confident response ever. She'll just love him after they tie the knot, problem solved. Yi Chen completely loses it and starts grabbing at his hair, absolutely losing his mind over this whole situation. He grabs her shoulders and starts yelling, asking if she has any clue what love actually means. Duo says she has no idea, but she's a fast learner. She was always at the top of her class back in school. She flexes about how smart she is and how she crushed every test she ever took. Yi Chen is low-key impressed by how brilliant she is, and you can see the gears turning in his head. He thinks about how different they are. While she was acing everything, he was basically begging every god he could think of just to scrape by. Yi Chen puts up one finger and tells her he's going to break down what real love is all about. He shuts his eyes tight, trying to come up with some deep explanation that'll blow her mind. But then he just stands there scratching his head because he's got absolutely nothing. Yi Chen starts panicking inside, realizing he's completely out of his depth with this whole mess. Duduo just stares at him with this intense look, waiting for him to drop some wisdom on her. Yi Chen suddenly gets hit with the reality that he never dated anyone because his whole life was just endless fights and grinding. Then something clicks in his brain and he comes up with what he thinks is the perfect solution. He gets all hyped up and says he's going to find someone to ask about this love stuff right away. He just looks at him totally lost, having zero clue what this dude is even talking about anymore. He powers up one of his crazy abilities and his eyes start glowing with some serious energy. The guy rips open this massive portal to another dimension using his most insane move. Duduo's jaw drops watching this absolutely wild display of power happening right in front of her. Yi Chen grins and explains that his cloning skill got so good because of all those brutal school tests he had to take. He clears his throat and gets ready to pull off his signature clone summoning move. Looking through the portal, they can see a bunch of his assistant clones grinding away at their desks in some office. They both peek through the portal while the girl has zero clue what's actually going on. Yi Chen gets freaked out by all those clones and begs her to chill with the crazy abilities. But his original sister shows up with her copies, looking like she runs the whole company. She walks straight up to the portal, pulls off her glasses real smooth. The two lock eyes, staring each other down. His sister gives Dodo some props. Dodo gets all bashful and whispers back a tiny hello to the assistant. Then she jabs Yi Chen right in the chest. He gets totally irritated and starts complaining that she's swamped with work and doesn't have time for his relationship drama. Yi Chen tells her this is serious stuff and asks if she can teach Duo what love actually is. When she hears that completely wild request, his assistant just freezes up and can't even form words. His sister gets all flustered and says she doesn't know anything about love since she's been too busy with all the fighting. But Yi Chen calls her out and brings up how she used to sneak romance manga in her school bag. She gets mad and her face turns red from embarrassment as she snaps back asking what's his point. Yi Chen says that even if she's never actually been in love, she's got all the book knowledge down. Looking uncomfortable, his assistant takes a second to think and gets ready to drop some knowledge. She explains that loving someone means getting butterflies around them and having them stuck in your head 24/7. Yi Chen then looks over at Duo and asks if she finally gets what love is all about. Right then and there, Duo straight up confesses that she loves Yi Chen, leaving him completely stunned. She breaks down how she gets all jittery when they're fighting, and afterward, she's constantly plotting ways to destroy him in their next battle. His sister completely loses it and starts dying laughing at that absolutely unhinged love confession. She's literally crying from laughing so hard while Yi Chen gets pissed off and Duo just stands there totally lost. Our boy gets mad at his sister for cracking up but tells Duo he's not buying any of this and they need to talk one-on-one later. The assistant is still wheezing and wiping tears because the whole thing was just way too ridiculous. She finally stops laughing and gets all serious, grabbing Wei Chen's arm out of nowhere. Duo just watches them both disappear into thin air, leaving her standing there like what the hell just happened. Duo is stuck there scratching her head, completely clueless about everything that went down. Up on some random rooftop, the assistant starts going off on Yi Chen, demanding to know what his deal is. The teleportation lands both of them right on top of this massive skyscraper. She stands there with her arms folded, giving him this intense look like she's waiting for him to spill everything. Yi Chen loses it and starts yelling at her about why she didn't give him a heads up that his date was going to be with Duo. She fires back, saying if she'd told him the real deal, he would have bailed without even thinking twice. He gets all worked up and says there's no way he would have said yes if he knew it was her from the start. Yi Chen's mind goes back to when she poisoned him during the war and how much that whole thing messed him up. Even though his body can handle pretty much anything, that pain is still stuck with him and won't go away anytime soon. His sister chills out her voice and asks him if he didn't think she was at least a little cute. The guy just drops down into a crouch, totally lost for words as he lets out this heavy sigh. Ye Chen taps into his powers and makes a cigarette pop up in his hand like it's nothing. He snaps his fingers and lights it up instantly, flexing those crazy abilities of his. Yi Chen mutters that his mom was totally right about gorgeous women being straight up toxic. His sister gets heated and yells that 10 years back, he wouldn't have even been in Duo's league. He calls her out for setting his whole thing up and says she's definitely keeping secrets from him. With this dead serious expression, he warns her he's gonna peek into her thoughts if she doesn't come clean right now. His eyes start glowing this sick golden color as he powers up his mind-reading abilities. His sister freaks out and desperately tells him he better not violate her mental space like that. Ye Chen demands she gives him one solid explanation for this entire mess. They both plop down on the building's edge, and his assistant turns away looking like she's wrestling with something heavy. She starts talking and drops that if this blind date crashes and burns, something really bad is going to go down. She spills that if their date doesn't work out, that girl won't have anywhere safe left in this world. She stares off to the side with this heavy look on her face while the wind messes with her hair. Yi Chen just sits there completely stunned, not knowing what to say after hearing that bombshell. He breaks it down. After everything changed, all these weird spells and powers started spreading online. The assistant tells him how cultivation apps randomly started popping up on phones and computers everywhere. Different groups claimed their turf and started making crazy weapons, including the first Zombie King. Other factions had to create their own superpowered humanoid weapons just to keep up. Every single one of these weapons had godlike abilities that could wipe out entire cities. That's when they made this ranking system to figure out how powerful each human weapon actually was. His assistant drops the truth. Back then, Duo was just some random second grader. She got trapped with a bunch of her classmates to learn this insanely deadly poison technique. The kids got thrown into this messed up ritual where they had to create some kind of poison master. When everything was said and done, only little Duo made it through the whole thing alive. Ye Chen thinks about how he also had to fight like crazy to become the guy who ended the war. He's confused about what any of this has to do with Duo not having anywhere to fit in. His sister points toward the city and tells him that everyone there looks up to him like he's some kind of hero. She turns it around on him and asks, what about Duo? Where does she belong in this peaceful world? Everyone's terrified of Duo because she's known as this poison saint who could basically wipe people out. The scene cuts to Duo just sitting by herself in this empty place, looking pretty down. Out of nowhere, this little kid shows up and walks over with the doll, smiling as she holds it out. The kid looks genuinely excited to give Duo this present. Lan Duo reaches out her hand to grab the little doll from the kid, but somehow she ends up fumbling it and the toy hits the ground. Right then the girl's dad shows up and starts freaking out, saying sorry like crazy. The guy quickly grabs his daughter and books it out of there, looking scared out of his mind. Lan Duo just stands there watching it all go down, looking pretty bummed out. And just like that, she's by herself again. Back to now, our main guy Yi Chen is smoking and looking all serious about everything. Lin Wei next to him asks if he's going to be scared of her too, like everyone else. She gets a bit red in the face while she waits to hear what Yi Chen's gonna say. But our dude just keeps looking straight ahead with that same cold face he always has. Getting mad about this, Lin Wei asks if he really thinks he's some kind of big shot. She starts going off about how he only won against her once and promises she's gonna get him back real soon. Yi Chen just laughs it off and tells Lin Wei to relax, saying he's got this whole thing under control. His assistant gives him this look like she doesn't believe a word he's saying. He turns around and asks what he's actually planning to do about all this. Out of nowhere, Yi Chen opens up a portal right behind the girl's head without any warning. Then he straight up pushes her through it, sending her right back to their office. After that, the dude just snaps his fingers with this cocky grin and shuts the portal down. Lin Wei gets launched back into her office and has no idea what just hit her. She ends up falling and landing weird right on top of her desk chair. She shoots up from the chair and stares daggers at the spot where that portal just disappeared. You can tell just by looking at her face that she's absolutely pissed at what he just pulled. Back on the rooftop, Yi Chen's just standing there by himself, looking out over the whole city. This massive magic circle starts forming in the sky above him like something serious is about to happen. The dude just sighs and looks totally over it, like he's seen this kind of thing a million times. He's thinking about how being the strongest guy around is actually pretty lonely and not really what he wanted. Yi Chen decides he's done standing around and just teleports away from the building in a flash. Next thing you know, he shows up at the restaurant where Lan Duo is. He looks pretty caught off guard when he sees her just standing there like she was expecting him. Yi Chen wants to know how long she's been waiting and why she didn't hit him up or anything. She tells him the Great Witch said to listen to whatever he says, and that she was supposed to wait right here for him. Yi Chen thinks about how she's been trained since she was little to just follow orders without question. He shakes off those thoughts and tells her to grab a seat at one of the tables. So the two of them sit down facing each other and it gets super awkward real quick. Yi Chen finally speaks up, pointing out that they already know each other pretty well since they've literally tried to kill each other. When she hears this, Lan Duo asks if that means they can get married now. Our dude gets completely flustered and tells her to quit thinking about stuff like that since they know each other too well. Yi Chen grabs a glass of water to try and chill out after that weird conversation, but then the girl asks if he wants to be a dad, saying they could just find some random baby in a dumpster or something. That makes our protagonist completely lose it. He chokes hard and sprays water all over Lan Duoduo's face. Lan Duoduo just sits there dripping wet, looking like she got hit by a truck and has zero clue what went down. Ichen freaks out and starts scrambling for napkins, trying to fix the mess he just made. The dude's face goes red while Lan Duoduo calmly wipes herself off like nothing happened. Inside his head, he's low-key losing it because handling this girl's emotions is way harder than any boss fight. Ichen takes a moment to breathe and get his act together so he can actually explain this whole thing. He tells her that relationships need two people who actually like each other, and he's not feeling it yet. Then he drops this line about how if she really wants to get married, she needs to figure out how to smile first. Yi-Chen reaches over and pushes her cheeks up with his fingers, making this weird forced grin on her face. Right then, this creepy purple smoke starts rolling through the whole restaurant out of nowhere. Yi-Chen picks up on the bad vibes immediately, and you can see him starting to sweat. The toxic purple mist starts eating away at everything around them, and the whole restaurant begins falling apart. Within seconds, the place becomes a complete wreck with that nasty purple energy oozing out of the debris. Yi-Chen asks her why she let the poison loose, and she tells him it's just something she does automatically in fights. He gets frustrated and says she needs to stop doing that, but she explains it's basically programmed into her at this point. Standing in the middle of all the destroyed stuff, he keeps pushing the issue until Lan Duoduo finally says she'll work on it. After hearing her promise, our main guy decides to use one of his most insane godly powers. He activates his time reversal ability to undo all the chaos she just caused. Thanks to his crazy skills, the restaurant goes back to looking perfect, like the destruction never even happened. Lan Duoduo's mind is completely blown watching our protagonist pull off something that wild. She wants to know how long he's been able to mess with time, and he tells her he could do it even before their big fight. She asks why she had no clue about this, and he says that's the whole point of keeping abilities on the down low. In his mind, Ichen admits he basically lived the same moment 1,000 times over just to figure out how to beat her. He tells her to stick around the city and see if she can actually make him catch feelings for her. Lan Duoduo totally gets the wrong idea and says she'll whip up some love potion and then they can get hitched. Our guy gets a bit worried but can't help asking if she's actually capable of pulling that off. She mentions how she already tested a bunch of different chemicals on him, but nothing really did the trick. Her toxic concoctions didn't do anything to him, but they somehow made two random mice nearby start going at it. The girl flexes about being a pro at this stuff and pulls out her poison recipe book, edition number 66. Ichen feels way better about things, already planning to get her some regular job so she can live like a normal person. Out of nowhere, someone screams "jerk" so loud it makes both of them jump in their seats. Some girl starts screaming for Yi-Chen to show himself, saying she's going to make him her personal little puppet. Yi-Chen knows that voice from somewhere and is trying to figure out who's making all this noise. Lan Duoduo instantly calls it out. That's Yu Hawali, the crazy demon chick from 100,000 Mountains. Yi-Chen gets this wild grin on his face because finally someone tough wants to throw down. He tells Lan Duoduo to go job hunting while he heads out to get some action. Yi-Chen launches himself up into the air, eyes locked and ready like a hunter spotting prey. He shoots up so fast that he basically creates this massive energy beam just from moving. Now he's just chilling up there in the clouds, waiting for whoever wants smoke. This demon called Iwali comes flying at him with these nasty claws and bright red horns sticking out. The chit transforms into this terrifying battle mode that looks like some kind of monster crab thing. Her attack hits and creates this huge red explosion that lights up the entire sky. The people watching from below are wondering if this demon chick even knows what she's getting herself into with Yi-Chen. Some random guy in the crowd starts yelling for our main character to show these demons who's boss. Everyone's just standing there watching this crazy fight happening right above their city. Yi-Chen doesn't even break a sweat and just grabs onto her horn like it's nothing. His grip is so strong that she can't even move anymore. He basically tells her she's way too weak to give him any kind of challenge. The demon gets super mad and screams that even though he's beaten her 49 times, she's got something new up her sleeve. She flies back and starts yelling about how he's about to get hit with her ultimate finishing move. This bright glow starts building up in her mouth, showing she's charging up some serious power. Yu Halali opens her mouth and absolutely goes off, shooting out this crazy energy blast that's low-key terrifying. The attack rockets right through where Yi-Chen was standing. This thing is so powerful it literally splits the clouds in half like they're nothing. The demon lady is breathing super hard now, looking like she just used up everything she had. She looks around and realizes Yi-Chen isn't even there anymore, just some weird shadow thing left behind. Yu Hali starts cracking up, thinking she actually got him, and starts talking trash about how weak humans are. She yells down at everyone in the city that she just took out their hero, and now she runs the show. The demon gets this evil grin and tells everyone they better bow down and serve her now. But then her whole vibe changes when she notices something's definitely not right. Next thing you know, she's screaming and grabbing her stomach like something's tearing her apart from the inside. Her stomach starts expanding in a weird way, and she's totally confused about what's happening to her. Yi-Chen thinks her power is pretty cool since it basically creates a whole universe inside her belly, which explains why she can eat anything. Looks like our main guy actually got sucked into the demon's stomach dimension. From inside her gut, Yi-Chen calls out asking if she's worried about getting backed up. Outside, the woman clenches her jaw hard, trying to push through the crazy pain. Yuhuali loses it and screams that she's going to break him down completely because there's no way she's taking an L. She puts everything she's got into her stomach, trying to crush him from the inside. Her belly starts glowing bright red as she attempts to squeeze the universe inside her. This creates a massive red swirling vortex above the city that has everyone freaking out. The scene switches to inside one of the city's biggest towers. A secretary suddenly bursts through the office door, looking absolutely terrified. Linwei sits at his desk, totally chill, and asks what's got her so freaked out. She frantically points toward the window, trying to explain the crazy stuff going down with Yi Chen outside. From down on the street, they can hear the guy's voice saying that anyone who tries swallowing their enemies is just asking for trouble. The secretary gets all weird and awkward, quickly saying, never mind, it's probably nothing important. Up in the sky, Yu Huali just floats there, completely wiped out from trying to digest him. You can see how totally exhausted she is just by looking at her face after putting in all that work. With zero energy left, the demon Yu Huali starts dropping out of the sky like a rock. She crashes into the ground hard enough to leave a massive crater where she lands. Now she's just lying there in the middle of the road, completely wrecked, with people gathering around to stare. Everyone standing around just stares down at her, their faces showing pure disbelief at what they're seeing. Yu Huali feels totally embarrassed and gets absolutely furious, her eyes lighting up with this intense red glow. The crowd sees her getting ready to lose it completely and starts yelling that she's about to go mental before they all bolt. Within seconds, the whole place clears out and she's just sitting there alone in the middle of all the destruction. Finally giving up, she swallows her pride and shouts for Yi Chen to get the hell out of her body. From inside her stomach dimension, Yi Chen tells her she needs to open up so he can actually escape. As he starts coming out, he mentions that her breath really isn't as nasty as he thought it would be. A few seconds later, Yi Chen just walks out like he was taking a casual stroll through the park. He turns around with this big grin and says the fight was pretty weak, but he's feeling amazing right now. But then something catches his eye and his whole expression changes to total shock and wonder. He stares at the demon, completely blown away by what's right there in front of him. Turns out, after all that fighting, Yuali got shrunk down into this tiny, helpless little girl.